Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you here, Mr. I was a little worried for a second. I didn't think it was working.
Hey, we're here right now. And thank you for having me.
Of course. I know it's been a little bit of a stretch here because I know I had to postpone one time or another, but
You're all good. You're completely all good.
awesome.
We're
Well, how are
hanging
you?
out right now.
Yeah, right here and right now. So how are you today?
I am doing awesome. I've been chilling out. I've been making music. I made music till really late last night and then also all day today. So I'm just hanging out and now I'm doing this interview and I'm feeling
Awesome.
good. How about you? How are you doing?
Not too bad. I have
Nice.
had my kids all day and I'm a little tired. I mean, I work third shift, so I kind of like a little topsy turvy, but I make it work.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So you were talking about making music. I noticed that you recently dropped an EP and a couple
Yes.
songs.
Yeah. Four
It's
songs. Yeah.
they're really good there, and I gave them a listen. I think they're really, they're really good. It kind of
You.
it surprises me a little bit because of your musical taste compared to the music that you play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I that is also part of my musical taste. Yes, I do love metal, punk, death metal, rock, classic rock, punk, grunge, but I do love me some good slowcore, acoustic, lo-fi music too, indie. Some of my favorites ever, Elliott Smith, Mazzy Star, Radiohead kind of fits in that, alternative rock, lo-fi vibe at times. Um, so yeah, I try to listen to all types of different music, everything, metal, rap, jazz, acoustic, like I just mentioned, indie, old folk, everything.
A little bit nice to like have a good range of a
Yeah.
good variety.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Like that's I mean, initially my taste consists of I listen to a bunch of metal and like
Yes, of course.
punk and
Mm-hmm.
um the only thing I don't touch is country, but
Yeah. There is some good country artists out there if you just find them. There are great country.
a lot of people I've noticed that defend country, well, and I can attest for it, older country, like
Mm-hmm.
old school country, not
Like,
like,
isn't Johnny Cash considered country?
yeah, of course. I mean, like,
Yeah.
and
I love Johnny Cash.
I almost don't even consider. I mean, he's country, yes, because he's got that southern twang and the
Hmm.
style, but he's almost like he's on the borderline, not country. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well,
But
I
yeah,
love
like,
me some Johnny Cash.
well, it's funny because like I grew up. My musical taste is so weird because like I grew up like I kind of had to find my own music eventually, like because I grew up listening to like stuff that was on the radio. Like I was listening to like boy bands and stuff like that. And so like I eventually like found like Blink 182, who is actually my favorite band.
Cool.
And then
Nice.
like my older brothers, they listen to like, Korn, Rage Against the Machine and Slipknot and stuff like that. And I eventually, got into the heavier stuff.
Nice.
So it's like, I mean, it's one of those things that I eventually, and I think with you, it seems like your taste kind of developed, with your upbringing.
Hmm. Yes, both my parents, a lot of the music taste, I give them a lot of credit. Both my mom and my dad have incredible music taste growing up with bands like Queen, Kiss, and AC/DC, and then slowly showing me more heavier stuff. Like, okay, so you like this classic rock. Well, let's show you some punk. So then I got into Misfits, Bad Brains, Minor Threat, Fugazi, all those bands. And then they're like, okay, you like punk. Now let's show you some thrash, and then so on and so on and so on. But it also got to a point where like, okay, you like all this death metal and stuff. Well, also here's some indie, and here's some slowcore, and here's some jazz. So yes, I give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't take after my parents when it came to music taste because both of my parents were like really big into like old school, old style like country and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, I did not get my music taste from you guys. But I
Well,
mean, it is what it is.
Music is a beautiful thing, and your parents like country and you like metal. That's how it is.
Pretty much. I mean, like I like horror movies, and my parents don't really get into those too much. Like my, it's funny. I mentioned that like growing up as a kid, I didn't like horror movies at all. Like I was actually like I wouldn't watch them. I was, to lack of better words, I was terrified of them.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Work that title in there. But yeah, I didn't touch on them, but I kind of, in a manner of speaking, kind of got over that fear eventually, and like now it's become basically all I'm about.
Yes,
To the
yes.
point my wife is just completely annoyed by it. But, is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, my,
So
my my mom and dad both love horror movies, and I grew up with them, and I love them. I loved them ever since I can remember, watching all the old school classics, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I grew up with horror movies, so I've always loved them.
I was actually getting ready to. That was my next question. I was going to ask about like your taste in film. I'm sure had something to do with like your taste in music, like your
Mhm.
upbringing.
Yes, yes. I was a psychic, and I heard the question in the future, and I was already ready. I was just excited to talk about it.
You're like, I know what he's going to ask next. Damn. So yeah, like I guess in a way I have like my brothers to thank in a way, because my oldest brother, I have two older brothers. My oldest brother, he was a big horror fan, and he always had like um he always had them, and I feel like a little part of me was like kind of interested, like because like even at like the video store I would see posters and stuff, like films that I don't think I would ever watch, and I'd be like, oh, that's you know kind of looking around the corner type thing, like I don't know, no, never mind, like
I don't know how I feel about that.
yeah, exactly. That's how, like, I was more of a video game when it came to the video store. I wish now, like back when I was a kid, I was more like I am now,
Hmm.
back when video stores were still a thing.
Yeah, so you can
That's
grow
when I
up
could
with
have,
it.
because like I'm still, as an adult, like I'm still catching up on movies that I never, I guess, would say I never grew up on because I didn't watch them.
Yeah.
So
I
now,
and I feel that with the catching up on movies, because there's so many brand new movies out there, and there's so many classics, to the point where it's like almost a little overwhelming. I'm like, oh man, I haven't watched these, and there's this brand new movie that's out, and it just gets, it gets some movies unfortunately get lost in the mix,
yeah,
you know.
it just never seems like I can like I've got like I said, I've got this list, and it just seems like
Yeah.
you can never catch up. Like you catch up, but by the time you've caught up to it, a certain extent, you're behind again.
There's more. Yeah.
It's an
The
ever
same thing in
growing.
music too. It's the same
Exactly.
thing. Like there's a lot of classic bands and artists out there that I haven't listened to, and then there's a lot of brand new albums, or even just some of my favorite artists out there. I'm already listening to them. Like, I want to listen to Metallica again today. Well, I haven't listened to this band. I haven't checked this song out. And I completely understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, um that's what's kind of beauty about streaming in a way, because like I have
Mhm.
Apple Music, so I'm like I can go in and listen to music that bands that I've known about for a long time and never really gave the chance because I never got around to it. So like I'm listening to older stuff that like I never thought about listening to, now that I have, access to the music, a little easier access to the music, I should say. Like for instance, like I think I found out about Power Trip, like,
Yes.
through you, actually, in a manner, like in a way, like through your, like, yeah, because I know you're a big fan of them, and you did an interview with Riley before he passed, and um but yeah, kind of like it's cool to find artists through other people in that manner of speaking. I just like movies.
Hmm. Yeah, Power Trip. I mean, Riley Gale, that interview with him was so beautiful, and one of my favorite live performers ever. Seeing him, I saw him live 2 times. That's actually how I discovered Power Trip, because I saw Power Trip opening up for Cannibal Corpse.
Oh
I was like,
wow.
what is this band? This is awesome. And in the car ride home, we were listening to Power Trip, and then I got Nightmare Logic on vinyl, and I ever since then, Power Trip was one of my favorite bands, and then I got to see them live. I actually, so here's a funny story. Um, I don't go into the moshes, right? And I've always wanted to, and I almost went into the mosh at the last Power Trip show that I went to before Riley Gale passed away. And right before I walked in, someone walked out holding their nose like this. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, you know what? I'll hold off on the mosh pit this time. But that show was awesome.
Yeah, they have there's definitely an energy to them. Like
Yes.
they are like just I love how their style is because it reminds me of like, that kind of hate breed mixed with Slayer,
Yes,
but
definitely.
also has their own like charm.
Hmm.
Like obviously they have their own message to give. Like like you were talking about Nightmare Logic. That's really the only album I've really kind of listened to. I need to listen to some of their older stuff, but um, yeah, there's just something about even like just the first track on the album. It just like paves the way for the rest of the record. It's really good. Like,
One thing that I feel like Power Trip was able to do so perfectly was capture the essence of all those old school metal bands, all those old school punk bands, and also bring something fresh and made you feel like, wow, this sounds new, but also there's this inspiration and to all these like Slayer or like old school Metallica with the Kill 'Em All record or whatever. That I definitely hear the old school metal in there too.
yeah, it definitely has. Yeah, it resonates like something fresh, like you said, but it also like you're listening, you're like, this sounds older, but
Mhm.
also like new. Like there's a band I've really grown a liking to just over the past couple months. A band called Cane Hill.
Okay, I have to check them out.
They're like a hardcore, like I guess metalcore-ish, but not like to those like. But they just have this really cool energy to them, and just I don't know. It's hard to I don't know. It's hard to describe them because like I've always, like I said, it's one of those things you hear about these bands and you finally listen to them and you're just like this is different. Like it almost reminds me a little bit of Corn,
Okay,
but it's a
okay.
hardcore band. Like
Mhm.
it's like I said, it's a little hard to describe. Like the guy's voice at times he plays with his voice and makes it just sound so different from any other band I've listened to. So it's definitely like the album's called Too Far Gone. If you get a chance, definitely check that album out. And it's just
Well,
like front to it's one of those rare because it's rare to find an album where it's just like front to back. You could just never skip one of those just full listens. And like ever since I listened to that CD, like I've just found that I can just listen to that all the way through and not skip at all.
no skips.
No skips. It's just
Perfect
it's
record.
like 36 straight minutes and I'm not going to skip. Like I have songs that I like more than others, but still I'm just like I still need to listen to the other ones before I get to that one because it's like it's a build up.
I would say with new metal bands, one metal band that I've been getting more and more into is a band called Devil Master. Their newest album is so awesome. It sounds like gothic rock meets punk meets like thrash, and I love them. I highly suggest them.
Awesome. What would you say they were called again?
Devil Master.
Devil Master. Well, I'm into that. I mean, I like, one of my favorite like who just over the like, it was a kind of an acquired taste was King Diamond.
Oh, I love King Diamond.
Like
I love, love, love King Diamond. I even have the that King Diamond poster that's in Jonathan's bedroom in Terrifier 2 is actually my poster. So it's hanging up in my bedroom right now.
I
I
actually
I think I might have seen King Diamond more live than I have than any other band. I think I saw him like 4 or 5 times, 5 times, and every single time King Diamond was on point. The visuals were beautiful, and I will always have this memory. I think it was either the second or the third show. Uh, Seeing King Diamond live, he in the middle of the performance, he pointed at me and went like at me, but since I was like so young, I took the picture of him doing it, and I was like, Oh my God.
Like,
King Diamond looked at me.
so I was
I'm
thinking,
a huge, huge fan of King Diamond. I'm very glad you brought them up.
he's yeah, he's definitely like, I think it was the very last Mayhem Fest. He was the co-headliner behind Slayer,
Nice.
and that was where I kind of first
Okay.
really kind of started getting into them. Was just because like I saw that they were going to be there, and I'd always heard about them. I'm like, man, I need to look them up. So I think it was the I want to say it was Arrival, or what album? What album? No, Abigail.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
Abigail album. Arrival was the song that
Yeah.
got me into, like, usually people are like, oh, Welcome Home, but like Arrival was the song that got me into King Diamond for some reason.
Nice. Yeah, Welcome Home. There you go.
It's a
That's that
classic.
that I mean that entire album was it well, I was at that show, the Mayhem Fest, Slayer and King Diamond.
That
I
was a
was
good,
there.
it's kind of a shame that that tour kind of ended after that, like, because it was such a good. I understand kind of why it ended, because at that point, like, the lineups just were kind of lackluster. Not to say anything bad about the bands there, but like they just didn't sell tickets for that show. It seemed like, I think,
I don't remember I don't remember how many people were there. I just remember loving every minute of it and enjoying it
yeah,
and being excited and singing to King Diamond Slayer songs. That's what I remember. I think we were in the lawn of that show, right? We were in the lawn of the King Diamond Slayer? Oh, we were seats. Okay, well, I was thinking about another Slayer show where there was like a giant mosh pit the entire time. And there was like two giant mosh pits, and then they joined together, and we were in the middle of it.
I'm I'm kind of like you. Like, I when I go to shows, I'm a listener. I'd rather stand at the side and just enjoy the show rather than, like, risk my life.
I feel that. I
Don't get me
understand.
wrong. I get it. Like, I get it. That's the thing. Like, the guys, performing, like to see that. It shows that, people are getting into your stuff. But it's like, for me as a viewer, it's just like, I go to these shows. I'm like, I don't want to die at this show. Like, you know what I mean?
And also, if you're gonna be there to see the band live, I mean, like if you're moshing, you're like looking down and like closing your eyes, you're getting yourself into it. I want to see the band, I want to look
Yeah.
at them. I want to see the visuals. I want to see the guitar playing, the drummer. That's why, for personally for me, I go to shows.
Yeah. I was actually today, I actually decided not to, but today, because I live in Indiana, Cannibal Corpse is playing in Indianapolis tonight.
So
And I was actually going to go to the show, but I ended up kind of deciding against it, more or less because the other bands that were playing with them, I was just kind of lukewarm on.
mhm.
It was one of those things, like, I was really pumped about it, but then I'm like, I'm going by myself though. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm the point in my life where I'm just like, I haven't been to a show in probably 4 or 5 years. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, I'm just not into it like I used to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Not
Okay.
so much the music, but just like the shows, the people at shows, I guess
Mhm.
sometimes. Those people just certain people kind of ruin shows for you sometimes. Just how, how it is. You go to shows.
Yeah. The 7'5" person stands right in front of you. Like
Yeah.
that, yeah, that happens. That happens sometimes. During the Black Flag, oh, not Black Flag, Black Sabbath show. Um, it was on the end tour, and I was like so excited, and the entire time, someone that was like really, and I was like really, really young anyway, so mostly everyone was taller than me. Uh, um, I couldn't see the band for like most of the time. Just recently, I went to Sunny Day Real Estate Show, and they sounded so wonderful. I don't know if you're into them at all. I love Sunny Day Real Estate. They were beautiful, but it was funny because there's this person that moved up in front of me. They were taller than me, and they kind of blocked the view a little bit. But I moved over. I was able to see them, and then they turned their head and moved in front of me again. I was like, why? Why would you
Oh,
do this to me? Why? I wanted to see Sunny Day Live, but the show was wonderful, and that was only for like I don't know 5 minutes or whatever. I was able to enjoy the show. It was a good time.
yeah. I think one of my favorite, because like I said, I'm a huge Blink 182 fan. I got to see them
Mhm.
live for the first time back in, I think, 2011. And we got there probably 3 hours before the show was even supposed to start, and we get there and it starts clouding up. I'm like, there was a chance of rain. I'm like, ah man, hopefully it'll just go over us. But no, it clouds up. It looks like it's about to get it. And when I say it gets it, like it straight up got it. Like we're all piling into the bathrooms and stuff. It's raining into the bathroom. It's raining so hard. Like it was straight up like a typhoon went through there. And luckily that, like I said, this was before the show, like before the first bands were even started yet. And luckily, like after that, the rest of the night was just, awesome. And like,
Nice.
so it was, I forget what the show was. It was like when they first came back after being on hiatus, they played with My Chemical Romance and Motion City Soundtrack. So
Nice.
seeing My Chemical Romance live was really cool. But then Blink 182 comes on. Of course, I've been a fan of Blink 182 like my whole life. And this was the first time getting to see them. And I'm like, I'm not going to lose my cool or anything. Like, I'm just going to enjoy myself. As soon as the first note of the first song starts, like, I'm like a kid, like a girl at a Justin Bieber concert. I'm losing my mind and everything. It was just such a, like, my buddy next to me is like, he like because like I was just singing every word of every song, just like, and like singing songs that people didn't know yet because they just come out. Like the guy next to me is like, is this new? And I'm like, yeah, where have you been?
Nice, nice. True
It's just it
fan, true dedication. Shows are awesome, concerts are awesome, and I can never get enough of them.
I noticed that you got to see Ice Nine Kills recently.
Yes, they were awesome, and
They are one of my all-time, like, next to Blink 182, probably my second all-time favorite band. Like
awesome.
there's
Yeah,
so
that was an experience because I got to meet Spencer and the whole band after that concert, that show, and they put up a fantastic show, and they got incredible visuals and stuff. But it was cool because Spencer is such a huge horror fan too, so he was talking about all of his favorite horror movies and stuff, and uh, it was just a beautiful experience. Yeah, that
they're
was awesome.
they're very theatrical, and they've kind of, even before they started doing like the horror, like the Silver Scream, um, even before they did Every Trick in the Book when it was based on horror novels, when they were doing just like kind of, original songs that weren't based on something, they were still really theatrical. Like even back in, when they were playing at smaller venues, like, and that's the thing about how far they've come. Like they started out, Ice Nine Kills started out as a punk band, and almost like original. I think Spencer originally started out. The band was just called Ice Nine, and it started out as almost like a ska punk band. Like that's hard to believe.
Yeah.
And then they eventually delve into like the hardcore metalcore scene, and that's where they kind of ended up. And then now
Mhm.
they've just sprouted into this like giant, you know horror metalcore like phenomenon.
Yeah, I love the relationship that horror and metal has. So, like a lot of horror fans also really love a lot of the classic metal bands and even some of the new metal bands and stuff. I just love it. Both communities are so cool, but the fact that they both, kind of intertwine here and there is just really cool to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also, just to touch on Ice Nine Kills and you, I noticed that you and Spencer are both going to be at Horror Hound in March. I'm
Hmm.
super stoked for that because I like I said, I'm from Indiana, so Horror Hound's just a stone's throw away from me. So I'm kind of like a Horror Hound elitist in a way. Like I'm just, it's become my, like, I'm literally wearing a Horror Hound
Yeah,
shirt.
I was gonna comment on it. I was
But I'm
gonna
also
where
wearing,
you wearing the shirt.
I'm
Oh,
wearing the,
nice,
it's,
nice.
it's kind of, I'm surprised that because they did this back in, I want to say March of this year, because David and Damien were there back in March of this year, and they're going to be there in March of next year. But of course, with Terrifier 2, alumni, I know you, Lauren, Dave, and Damien, and then Jenna Cannell from the first one's going to be there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
which, I mean, I guess technically she's in the second one for like, those flashback scenes or whatever.
Mhm.
I feel like
Yeah,
we haven't touched on Terrifier at all. Like all we've talked about is music, which is fine.
music. We're geeking out over here about music and stuff. We're having a good time.
Yeah,
We're just, we're just chilling out.
pretty much. That's what I mean. Like I initially, when I do these interviews, I don't even almost refer to them as interviews anymore at this point. I almost just they're kind of hangouts, really. Like I
Yeah,
just
conversations. Yep.
conversations, like I've done this, numerous of times with other people. Like, I've done one with, David before. And I mean, it was just me and him just kind of just going back and forth on just different topics. We eventually got to the topic. It's like we'll get there when we get there. Like I literally had like I swear, me and Nathan, who runs Horror Hound, we were supposed to be doing an interview, but like the whole first 40 minutes was just us going back and forth, just talking. Like he's like, have you hit record yet? And I'm like, no. But
Hey, if that's one of my favorite interview styles, just hanging out, chilling out, having conversation, talking about stuff we love, and it's just all good fun.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you're like, I'm glad because I can't say that I've had an interview slash conversation slash, yet where I just felt like, I felt stressed, I guess, in a
Mhm.
way, like, because, when talking to celebrities and, it just, you think people ask me, how do you just keep your cool so easily all the time? I'm like, you just kind of have to go with it, just talk about either random stuff or just, talk about things that about the person and make conversation, really.
Wow.
And so bringing up Terrifier 2, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
So it's been a long time coming because, the pandemic happened but here we are in 2022 and the movie's out and it's taken the world by storm.
Yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride. Just being on set. I mean, I was a huge Terrifier fan before I even auditioned, and man, all I can say is surreal moments.
So you had seen before you auditioned for Terrifier 2, you had seen Terrifier. So you knew what you
I
were
was already a fan. I already knew what it was about. I
you knew
already knew
what you were
about
getting
that.
yourself into.
Yep.
So how did that so let's go back to the beginning. So like how did you come about to audition for Terrifier 2?
There's this website called Actors Access, and we were just looking through it that day, just randomly. We decided to go through it, and Terrifier 2. We saw Terrifier 2, like, what? Terrifier 2? This is insane. Like I was like going crazy. And then we submitted myself for two different roles, and they're like, wow, we think you look the part for Jonathan. And then I did 4 auditions. I did an audition. A first self-tape audition is just basically me videoing myself reading off the lines at home. Then I did an in-person audition in the city, in New York City, with Lauren and Damien, and that was a wonderful experience. And then another self-tape where I was practicing screaming. And then uh, the final audition was at the producer's house with some of the cast and crew, and yeah, that's how it went. And I have to say, I was definitely very nervous for every single audition, and it
I
worked out. It worked out well.
Well, that's great. I mean, because you're definitely one of the highlights for the film, in my honest
Thank
opinion.
you.
I
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed your well, kind of like your development, I guess, in a way, like because there's you know Terrifier is its own monster.
Mhm.
It was its introduction to Art the Clown, what he is, not really who he is, I guess, but we don't really know who he is. But it's establishing Art the Clown, and then this Terrifier 2, it's really more of a movie.
Mhm.
Like there's so much story to it. There's such a richness with the characters. Like you really kind of, you feel for the characters. Like, you and Sienna, even her friends, like, even the bitchier ones.
I think that I mean, I agree with like the story, and you feel more care for the characters because there's this family dynamic in there too, with Lauren and my mom and Uh, I feel like Damien's story writing and his vision for this movie was incredible, and the way he executed it was beautifully.
Very, yeah, I agree 100%. Like, I don't have to have, like, I don't even, like, I can completely honestly say that Terrifier 2 is probably my favorite, at least horror film of the year.
Awesome. That
If
means a lot.
not, if not movie of the year. It's very close. I, I've really just, it's been hard to try to find a movie that topped The Black Phone for me.
Hmm.
The Black Phone, just something about that movie. It's not extreme to the point, like, to me, The Black Phone is very simplistic almost, but
I
it's
still
that
need to watch it.
simplicity.
See, you know how we were talking about like long lists of movies and stuff. There's new ones and classic ones. I still haven't gone around to watching that
Oh,
movie yet.
it's so
I've
good.
only
Like,
heard good things about it.
it's definitely one of Ethan Hawke's like best performances, hands down. But it's not just him. Like, everybody in that movie is just really good at what they're doing. Like the kids, uh, the main kid, Finney, who gets abducted. He does a really, like, he plays that kind of like kid who's just like, he's very, he hears the stories of the grabber, and he's really like frightened of it, and then it ends up happening to him, and so it's just like you just really feel for him. Like, there's points in the movie where he starts to break a little bit because he just feels hopeless, and it just feels like all is lost, and then, but you, like, he gets like this like ray of hope and everything. So it's a really just, it's gritty at times, but it's really, like I said, it's very simplistic because it's almost like he doesn't really, like, the grabber really doesn't do a whole lot to him. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's a little, like I said, it's a little simplistic because but he doesn't have to make a
Meanwhile,
point.
Art the Clown is
Tearing people
really
apart.
yeah.
Speaking of
Every
which,
scene.
Casey Hartnett, I'm doing an interview with her Thursday, actually. So we'll be talking about, I made a post about it about a week ago. I said, no salt or bleach will be present at the interview. Maybe.
Maybe Art the Clown.
Maybe he'll
Um,
be there. He'll make an appearance now. But man, that scene though, good Lord, like, that
um,
really topped, like, you think Terrifier, you instantly think of the hacksaw scene.
mhm.
And you're like, what could top that? And I'm pretty sure that bedroom scene, if not topped, I mean, it came pretty close.
Yeah, that scene just so brutal. I saw it in theaters, that movie, like 5 times, 6 times, 6 times. And every single time I saw that scene, I even winced. Even
You're
on the
like,
sixth
yeah,
time, I was like, "Ugh, gosh." Like, even just like this, the simple part is just like the sounds, like the crunchy sounds, and like the weird, uh, just bone chilling noises that Damien puts in the background, as well. Even, of course, the practical effects. You
yeah,
know,
of
it
course.
just like the way he did it, it just like really gets to you. Every single, even just breaking the arm, or like everything,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, just the simple bone snap, like,
Yep.
even with the little hammer at the beginning of the movie with the
Yeah.
coroner. It's like, how does that little hammer make that loud of a smack?
I mean, Art the Clown is just a cold-blooded killer.
Absolutely, like, and like I said, it it wasn't just him, like, straight up offing people in this movie. There was, like I said, there was definitely a really cool story, and then there's even a story with him, Art the Clown himself, seeing this little pale girl,
Hmm.
and that was a cool dynamic between those two. Like, Amelie McLean is her name, I think, who played
Amelie, yeah.
Amelie. I knew, I was like, I'm probably not pronouncing that wrong, but man, she did so, like, if Art wasn't creepy enough, she adds such a spark to, like, that character. Like,
And the facial expressions between them, everything.
you first see her in the laundromat, and she's just sitting there, and you're just like, that's not creepy at all.
That's just an everyday experience. Going to laundromat, you know.
that scene, I'm like, there ain't no way his clothes got that clean after going to the lawn. Like those clothes are stained for life. That's just what cracked me up about when he's putting them in the laundromat and he's washing his clothes. I'm like, there ain't no way they came out that white.
And that poor guy sleeping there, sleeping.
He's just a
And he
poor.
wakes up. He's like, what is going on?
Like, I definitely woke up in the wrong laundromat here. But yeah, that whole scene with just when you first get to see the pale girl, like him just like having their like even playing patty cake and everything. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And then you run into them at the school with the whole um I don't remember what animal it is.
The possum.
The possum, yeah. That is just like, man, that would mess you up. Like
Getting a possum thrown on you by two clowns sitting down, just having fun, goofing off. I'd say that would definitely traumatize a lot of people.
yeah, for sure.
Anybody that experiences that.
So real quick, I was talking to, I think your dad through the email, and I was telling him about, I have the free version of Zoom.
Yeah, I see the doomsday clock right there.
Yeah, I'm like, at least it gives me the clock though. But
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you if it would be okay, like once this timer runs out, if we could do another call and continue this. Like,
Yeah, sure.
I just like, because I feel like our first 30 minutes were just us talking about music, and now we're actually getting to the topic at hand. I'm like, well, and
That's totally fine.
awesome, because I did one like I said, at least it's nice that it tells you, hey, you've got 3 minutes left. You might want to wrap this up.
It would kind of suck if it just like went black and then like you disconnected and it's just over.
Gone forever. Yeah, that's kind of how like I usually do Instagram lives,
Mhm.
and that's kind of how those are. Like they just kind of say, hey, or it just kind of randomly ends.
Mhm.
But I feel like they've updated it to now they finally have it to where it alerts you like, hey, you're about to hit your limit. So that's nice at least. But yeah, I'm just like I figured I'd ask just to make sure. I didn't know what your schedule's like this evening, so I wanted to make sure that was okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good.
Awesome. So what I might go ahead and do and just go ahead and end this. That way we don't that we can just say, hey, to be continued on the next video.
Okay, to be continued on the next video.
And then I'll send another. It should be the same stuff.
Mhm.
So what I'll do, because this will save, and that
Okay.
usually takes about a minute or two, and then I'll start up another meeting, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Well, then, to be continued.
I'll see you soon.
I hope so. And we're back.
Long time no see.
Yeah, it took a little longer than I thought it would to convert, so I decided to pour myself a bowl of cereal.
Love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
these boxes turned out so cool. Like these are
I love the
legit.
Art Krispies.
20, 25 minutes.
My dad said 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah, just if we have to go after, we have to go with mommy somewhere after.
All right.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah, got it.
Gotcha. I'll so 25 minutes. I'll set a timer.
Nice.
Timer 25 minutes. There we go. It's on my phone.
Awesome.
So anyway, back to Terrifier 2. So let's talk about some of the fun stuff, some of the not so fun stuff. I'm sure it was mostly all fun. So what was so we talked about the audition, getting to, act. What was something, because you've acted before. This wasn't your first gig.
Yeah, no. I've done I started acting in sixth grade. Uh and I've just been doing auditions ever since. I've gotten some smaller roles on like flashbacks and TV shows and like just like a one scene thing here and there or a commercial or whatever. But Terrifier 2 was my first really, really big gig. And I'm also in an animated TV series where I play Rooster and it's called Get Rollin' with Otis.
Interesting. I'll have to look that
It's
up.
for kids. It's on Apple TV.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, I'll still look at. I have kids, so I mean, we watch Bluey. I mean, it's it's great.
Yes, that was very, very fun to record. Because I went into like a studio and stuff, and they had the headphones and special mics. It was really, really cool.
I'm curious as like how, because I've heard a lot of people say that voice acting can be just as like, not saying complicated, but just as like um I can't think of the word, like as challenging as just regular acting at times.
Yeah. I mean, like voice over work is a whole nother art in itself with like because like every single vocal melody even or like the rhythm of your voice matters. Like let's say I went to the store. I went to the store. I went to the store, like that type of stuff. So with every line, I did different variations of excitement. Maybe I whispered it, and for, when you're becoming a whole nother character with changing your voice into some cartoon, it definitely, I can see why it was challenging, but why people might think it's challenging, but I actually enjoyed every single minute of it. I loved it.
Absolutely. That's yeah, like I could imagine it like, doing something like that, you're just like, nah, like you're not really thinking about it being challenging, but just, you know. But
Yeah, I mean it's I mean one thing and I actually had the wonderful chance both Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston were doing signings for their alcoholic beverage and
yeah.
I met them at like a shop or something because that's where they were doing it
Oh
and
wow.
I told them how much they inspired me as an actor, etc. One thing Bryan Cranston said was enjoy the acting journey or good luck on your acting journey because a part of that journey is the challenge. So if you enjoy the challenge, then it just becomes even more exciting and more, something that you love.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, that's, couldn't say better than from Bryan Cranston himself. The guy's an absolute legend.
Yeah, yeah, that was a wonderful experience.
So on the set of, Terrifier 2, what is like, can you tell me like what was one of the biggest challenges on set of that film? Like something that you were just straight up like almost, flabbergasted by.
I wouldn't say there wasn't as many. I wasn't. One thing that I got very, very lucky was my character didn't get as like bloodied up as anyone else. So I wasn't like doing the practical effects as much, except for like a couple scrapes here and there, and I loved it. And I got to work with the shotgun and stuff. That was really fun, practical effects. I would say the only negative was it ending. That was the only thing I didn't like. Uh, Me not being on set anymore with some wonderful cast and crew. That was, I would feel the only negative. I enjoyed everything.
Well, that's a beautiful thing to take away from that. I mean, at least you enjoyed there being there, doing your part, and just enjoying it while you're there. I mean, and it's really cool because I've noticed like with posts from you and Damien and so on that you guys have really just kind of formed this giant family.
Yes,
So I'm
yes.
really
Terrifier 2 fam.
it's the yeah, hopefully Terrifier 3 fam.
Yes. I mean,
So I'm a little curious because you were brutally attacked, and I might mention were bitten
yep.
pretty fiercely by Art the Clown. I'm curious, do you think so? Let's go back to the end of Terrifier 1 when he's eating Tori's face.
hmm
Do you think there's a chance that something might happen to your character that was similar to that of Vicky's?
Oh man, that's a really, really good point. Actually a really good theory. Um, I have no idea. Maybe, maybe not. Um, I'd say if anyone on the planet would know anything like that would be probably Damien because um I don't know the plans for Terrifier 3 or anything, but I really do like that theory. I think that's cool.
It was just something I thought of like when I noticed when I saw it in theater because I did get to see it in theater luckily, and I saw that part like where he's trying to like eat you so to speak, and I'm like he's doing the same thing he was doing to Vicky in part 1. What does that mean about Jonathan's character for the future?
Who knows? Who
Like
knows? We'll
only,
see.
yeah, only Damien and his twisted mind knows. It's so cool because
Stay tuned.
Damien is this cool, calm, and collected individual that you just wouldn't like. What's flashing up in that mind of his? Like the most dark, demented stuff, I'm sure.
And
But he's
that's
just,
another thing with like horror fans. The community is kind of like that too, because like, we're having a fun, chill conversation, but we love these crazy horror movies with insane gore and bedroom kill scenes,
yeah,
like
the
eh,
bedroom scene.
yeah, that's how
That's
you know
gonna.
that Damien is truly a dedicated horror fan.
It's really amazing how this film has really like brought back the theatrical experience of a horror film. Like you're seeing these headlines on like at first I'm like, what's like, people passing out, throwing up and stuff like that. I'm like, what's like I've seen Terrifier a billion times. Like it's like one of my favorite movies. And then like I went to see it and the ticket taker was like, yeah, we had this group of people, or we had this couple come in one day last week and they had to leave because they just said it was just too much for them. I'm like, there was at no point when I was watching this, I'm like, I could see why people would walk out of this, I guess. But me, myself, I'm just sitting there like, this is Terrifier.
Yeah, we already knew about it with the first Terrifier. But I definitely think with this one, I mean, the people that saw it, I don't know if they were expecting it to be even more crazy with like the practical effects and gore and the sounds and how cold-blooded Art the Clown was. I feel like you knew it, like people that were going to see it knew what they were expecting, but there was more.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it went from Terrifier and just amplified it like times two. Like,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
of course longer too. I mean, it's a long film.
Mhm.
Like it's
Yeah.
it,
I mean, the thing with Terrifier too, I mean, at least for me, is it doesn't feel that long.
no, definitely not.
It makes you want more, you know?
It definitely because there are those movies that like are the pacing is everything.
Hmm.
Like you can watch an hour and a half movie that feels like it's a 3 hour long movie, but you could
Hmm.
watch a 3 hour long movie and it feel like it's only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Just because it just the pacing. Like there's maybe like, and I think Damien said this before. Like there's only maybe a 5, maybe 10 minute lull, and even then, it's still like not slow. Nothing ever really slows down. Like you stay interested, and that was one thing. Like I noticed, yeah, this is long, but I'm not bored.
Yes, I feel like the one way that kind of helped capture that. Yes, there was the blood, the guts, the gore, the craziness, but there was also, yeah, like you said earlier too, the family that made you care about them, and then also a little bits of comedy here and there
Yeah,
with like just like something as simple as the glasses scene when they're like when Arthur Clown is trying on the glasses. Like,
that is a cult classic moment now. Like I love
yes,
how that has become like the thing now. Like
I love seeing people wearing the glasses. I just love it. Arthur Clown and glasses.
they just announced. I don't know who's releasing it. Some Australia company is releasing a box set, and it's supposed to come with a pair of those glasses.
It's
Like
awesome.
that is genius. Like
It is
I
genius.
need that box set now. It's supposed to come with like All Hallows Eve, Terrifier, Terrifier 2, and I'm like, that is like the perfect box set.
That is wonderful.
But like, so getting to act, say for like, because you're Sienna's brother, so how was it getting to act with Lauren? Like, tell me a little bit about that like dynamic, like getting to.
It was wonderful. Lauren had always treated me and supported me as a younger brother. Like she's like this big sister that I never had. Like even like that final audition and that final audition and the second audition, the two in-person auditions that were there. She treated me like she was my sister, and we can't even look the same. One thing with Lauren that I appreciate that is she is so talented that I felt like it made me a better actor in those scenes. Just working with her, taking notes from her, reacting to her facial expressions that were very real. I feel like Lauren is an incredible actress, and she is so kind.
Yeah, I can definitely tell like she resonates that like in her. I follow her like, on the socials and stuff, and I see her comments and everything, and she is definitely like easily final girl of the year.
Mhm.
Like
Agreed.
she's such a badass too. Like, she really proves herself in this movie by like just being this. Well, she's the angelic character to the devil art.
Mhm.
That was the whole concept. I think originally Damien wanted to create for Terrifier to begin with,
Yes, and
and that's really cool.
yeah, and also it's pretty cool to see a character stand up against art, give art a challenge. Uh, that I really, really love to see because I mean, like with Art the Clown, he just kills these people and he's just having fun. Art the Clown murdering people. But with Sienna, it offers a whole nother aspect. Thing like Art the Clown isn't so strong anymore. There's this final girl that has a sword and can kick Art the Clown's ass.
Yeah, absolutely, and does like pretty fiercely. Like,
Yeah.
another touch on that subject real quick with the sword and your. First of all, let's give a shout out to your mother, Sarah
Yes.
Voigt.
Hmm.
She was the like to the extreme of bitchy parents, but you felt for her though. Like she was that way because of the situation. Like obviously your father had, passed away and everything. And that was a thing, one of my only gripes of the movie. We never really figure out who your dad was. Like,
Hmm.
what was his, like, who was he? Like people are like, is he Art the Clown? Is that the dad? Like, and I'm like, no, there's no way. But like
I feel like with Jonathan, and keep in mind this is all just like theories and stuff because I don't know what's happening for Terrifier 3 or anything. I don't know who my dad is in the movie. I don't know who it is. But I would say I feel like with the whole notebook and the sketchbook and how it shows Art the Clown and stuff, I feel like the dad was seeing Art the Clown and he was getting tormented by Art the Clown first. And that once he started to connect all the dots together, uh, maybe Art the Clown killed him with the fire car crash scene. Like maybe that was Art the Clown that murdered him. Who knows? I don't have the answers. I would say that's if I would say that's my theory, my working Terrifier 2 nerd theory.
I feel like that's the only thing that, like, negative wise, not so much negative, but just like more or less of a curiosity that left people like. That's the only thing that I can really have a gripe about, that we never really find out who he was, and
Mhm.
it just kind of left you wondering like, why did they touch on that so much and then not give us like. But maybe they'll touch on that later, who knows, like you said.
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? And now both Sienna and Jonathan don't have a dad or a mom either.
Talk about a brutal scene
Yeah.
like that. I'm like, something's gonna happen here, and I'm like, and as soon as like she wipes that away, and I'm just like, oh no, like that's one of the scenes where I'm just like, oh my, that's
Yeah.
terrible. And that's one of like the, like, you can take the bedroom scene for what it is, but the stinking mashed potatoes, come on now, that's just
Yeah.
rude,
That's just disrespectful.
just
Uh
mean.
Jonathan can never ever ever look at mashed potatoes, eat mashed potatoes. Art the Clown ruined Thanksgiving for him. But one thing with the mom that really gets you too is that like some of her last words talking with Sienna on the phone, when Sienna says, I love you, mom,
Yeah,
and then she said, I love you too. It makes you like it has like a very nice heartwarming moment, and then next thing you know, she's dead
yeah,
because it's
that's
just Art the Clown.
that's one thing, I noticed about the mother, like given all the tension that there was with her, she was doing her best.
Yes.
Like,
Mhm.
you could tell there was love. Like, she loved you kids, obviously. But like, there was that tension because, with Jonathan being, all into his, like, all the murders and like wanting to dress up as Art the Clown for the party and everything. It's just like, I get where her character was coming from, being that kind of character. But like, yeah, like you said, like that whole scene with Sienna saying, I love you, mom, and stuff like that. And she's like, you better not. And then she's like, no, I'm serious. Like, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's definitely like a touching moment. And then like you said, soon after, you're like, something bad's going to happen.
In
And
her
then something
last
bad.
moment, in her last moments, she thought Jonathan was the one that did that still. So in her show, she was like, things are gonna change. And then she's like, wait, it wasn't Jonathan.
Things are going to change. All right. Yikes.
And what an incredible performance by Sarah, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. She's supposed to be there. There's a slew of appearances from most Terrifier guests and within the next year at conventions. And she's supposed to be at Days of the Dead in Indianapolis, I believe. I feel like you'll probably end up there, like, because I know you're going to be at Horror Hound in Cincinnati in March.
I'm probably I don't know. No, I'm not gonna be. Yeah, I'm not gonna be at Days of the Dead. I'm gonna be with at Horror Hound. That's where I'm going.
Gotcha. And I know Days of the Dead's not until like July,
Mhm.
so I'm not sure where your schedule will end up, because I know there's supposed to be like this Terrifier 2 reunion at Horror Hound, and then there's supposed to be another reunion like at Days of the Dead in July. It's just like if I miss somebody there, I feel like I could always get them at that.
Well, I will see you at Horror Hound.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good show. I mean, you're the Terrifier 2. I mean, Spencer is going to be there.
Mhm.
Bruce Campbell from the Evil Dead series so far. I mean, they haven't really announced a whole ton of guests yet because it's not till March.
Yeah, that's gonna be Horror Hound. I've been going to Horror Hound for years, right? I grew up. That was one of the first horror conventions I remember going to, and I loved it. And I am so excited. I am so excited for Horror Hound.
It's like for me, like, because like Horror Hound was my first convention back in 2014, and Horror Hound really, in a way, is what really kind of like I was a horror fan like before I started coming to Horror Hound, but like it was really when I started going to Horror Hound, reading the magazine and stuff, that really kind of I developed into the horror fan I am today. And like so, like for instance, like say if I were ever to like get into movies or something, and if I were ever to be a guest somewhere, I would want my first show to be Horror Hound.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, going to Horror Hound, Monster Mania, all those horror conventions, definitely, certainly helped shape my love for horror.
Absolutely. I feel like maybe we've crossed paths at some point then.
Maybe I saw you at Horror Hound.
You
Who
might have.
knows? We
We're
walked past each other in the vendor room.
didn't even realize it. No. Where are you guys from?
I live in Jersey, New
Jersey.
Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was feeling it was some northeast somewhere up there.
Mhm.
My father's originally he was born in Camden, New Jersey.
Nice.
Of course, he was only, he was a month old when they moved to Indiana, but he was born there nonetheless. That's
Nice.
pretty. It's kind of cool to think.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
But so I feel like you're probably gonna have to be getting going. I have 5.5, but I don't want to like cut it too short. I know you said you had to get going here before too long.
Mhm.
So I
Well,
just
it was so wonderful. Unless you want you want to do one more question?
let's see here. I'll do one more question.
Okay.
So out of all the horror films that you've seen throughout your lifetime, what is one horror film that you wish you could have been in?
Oh man, that is an incredible question. I feel like Scream would have been a really fun horror movie to be in. Because I mean that cast, I mean Matthew Lillard, I've met Matthew Lillard and he was so nice. I met him a couple of times. I even interviewed him too. And
Yes, you did.
I love acting in that movie. And the thing with that movie in particular is, yes, it is a slasher movie, but it's fun. It has comedy in it. It makes you smile. I would say Scream is my answer.
Which is an excellent movie, because who
Yes.
doesn't love Scream? I mean,
Who doesn't?
like it literally like revamped the slasher genre from because the 90s weren't great for horror. Let's be honest. Like there was some standout, kind of there were some standout hits in the 90s, but it was kind of a little lackluster. It was kind of like an in between the '90s, the 2000s kind of picked back up a little bit.
I mean, it's really hard to compete with those old school 80s,
It really
easy,
is.
80s slashers, and it's those are the classics.
Absolutely. And so would you live and Scream or would you die?
Oh, I would hope I would live.
I mean, I
I
mean,
would love to live, but I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I would die and scream.
depending on your age, I guess, because I feel like age doesn't have I guess wouldn't be a factor really, because I feel like the kids in Scream were technically high school kids, but I mean they look
Mhm.
more like college kids. But that was Scream 2. I think that was when they were in college.
Yes.
So, but yeah, that would be a fun one to Scream would definitely be a fun one to be a part of. I would love to be Ghostface.
Yes, I was almost gonna say I would like to be Ghostface. I think that would be really, really fun. But I want to be a good guy, but I certainly would love to be a bad guy too. I
Yeah,
feel like it'd be fun.
I feel like I would. I'm not. I can't say much for myself because I'm not much of an actor. Like I don't have the experience. I've acted at a haunted house. Let's just put it at that. I'm more of a. If I were to be an actor, it would be probably for more of an unspoken role.
Hmm.
So I'd be wearing a mask probably.
Well, those characters are always really, really cool, so I don't blame you.
I mean, I feel like I would do my best work hiding my face. Like,
I certainly would love to be Ghostface. So
I could see it.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
But you see, you have the talent to do both. I feel because you do really
Thank you.
well. Like I said, I'm not gonna like. I thought you were really stand out on Terrifier 2.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
and but I could also see you being a killer. Like you seem like that sweet innocent kid, but turn around and end up being the killer.
That could work for Scream.
Very
That
well.
like it keeps people guessing. Well, he seems so nice in the movie. Well, he's actually the killer.
Absolutely. Well, Elliot, I'm going to let you get going because, like I said, I know you said you had to get going here in the last 25 minutes, and I'm on about a minute, so um, I don't want to make anybody angry.
You're all good. I just want to say thank you. I just wanted to say thank you. Sorry, they're talking. Wanted to say thank you so, so much for having me. It was wonderful talking to you. This was fun. It was chill. We nerded about music, Terrifier, horror movies, everything. We talked about everything. Thank you so, so much. It was really, really great to talk to you.
I appreciate you. Appreciate you doing this. It was, like you said, it
Of
was great
course.
talking to you.
Thank you.
Great nerding out about music. I feel like we talked.
Yes.
That was our big, like one of our big topics, and it was just great, connecting with you on a personal level. And I
Mhm.
personally, I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yes, I cannot wait to see you at Horror Hound.
Look for me. I'll be wearing. I'll probably be wearing. I have a Rotten Report shirt that I'll be
Nice.
wearing. I'll just be like, hey, I know you from my interview.
Hey, I know you from the interview. That's what I'll say. I'll say that back.
Well, Elliot, it's been real. You take
Yes, it
care.
is.
Good
You
luck
too.
with your music writing,
Thank you so much. Thank you
and
so
good
much.
luck to your acting career as well.
I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words.
And with that, we will. My timer went off. And with that, we have run out of time. So I want to say thank you again. And I guess I'm terrible at ending these things.
I'm not good with endings either.
I'm not. I'm not good with goodbyes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week.
And you too. And in case I don't talk to you before then, you have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Yes, you too. See ya. Peace.